All right, everybody. This is going to be a very, very interesting discussion. We have two very smart people here to talk about this topic, and two people who I think are going to give you ideas that you're not going to get in a lot of the debates you're watching. If you do watch mainstream media on the RFK Jr. op ed in Fox News, so we've got Ryan Cristiàn with the Last American Vagabond and Bernadette Pajer. She is host of Informed Life Radio and the Tennessee director of Stand for Health Freedom. I think all of us agree on a lot about the topic of health freedom. But this article that RFK Jr. wrote for Fox News, this op-ed, has sparked a lot of conversation within the health freedom community, a lot of differences in opinion about how to take this, how to interpret it. I would say on one extreme, he's strategizing. I mean, I don't necessarily maybe call it an extreme, but on one side, it's a strategy, the way that he wrote this article. Maybe he didn't go as far as some people would like, but he's new in office and this is just strategizing. And then on the other side, it's like he's a total sellout. He didn't hit points hard that he has hit for many, many years while discussing the topic, for instance, of the measles vaccine and herd immunity or childhood vaccinations generally. And this is not a good sign for how he's going to be in office. Okay, so these are kind of the two poles, and then there's difference in variety of opinions within it. So Ryan and Bernadette are going to walk us through the differences here. I think everybody watching this is going to get a lot out of it. So I encourage you to stay through the whole thing. I will give a quick disclaimer for anybody who's watching this later on YouTube. You will not get the whole thing. We encourage you to go somewhere else like Rumble, Rockfin, Locals. These are the sites that will have the whole interview. This should go without saying. Okay, welcome to 2025 on the internet. Before we get any further, if you're going to be talking to your friends about the RFK Jr. op-ed, it would be great to have some teeth, right? Teeth are great. They help you talk. And there's one amazing product that we've been taking in our family, not just for your teeth, but for general immunity. It is the fermented cod liver oil, concentrated butter oil blend at greenpasture.org. If you go to greenpasture.org, you use promo code Allison, you get 10% off. This is the product, fermented cod liver oil and concentrated butter oil blend. Basically, vitamin A, vitamin D, a bunch of other stuff in these two products that are put together so that your body can get the most out of them. Dr. Weston Price, biological dentist, turn of the century, noticing a lot of his patients are getting cavities, spent much of his life studying indigenous cultures, why they didn't have a dentist and yet didn't have cavities. It really all came down to nutrition for him. And this is the way that he felt like this product should be put together, that you get more out of a fermented cod liver oil and a concentrated butter oil blend together than if you took these products separately. So again, 10% off. I like to order like 5 or 6 at a time because we usually go through one of them per month, and then you don't have to pay shipping. And again, you get 10% off when you use promo code Allison at checkout. Okay, so let's get to what everybody has been waiting for. We're going to go back to the article and we'll just start right with the headline, okay? Because some people get a headline and they're like, not a big deal. Other people are like, okay, it's a call to action. What is he calling us to do? So Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and then colon, measles outbreak is a call to action for all of us. MMR vaccine is crucial to avoiding potentially deadly disease. Okay, we'll start with Ryan on this one. Ryan, what's your takeaway with the headline here?
Well, before we jump into the headline specific, I did you said before we start, I think it's good to kind of outline like the large, high elevation view and jump right on that first point. And I would like to say before we get into it, which we briefly said off air, I have a lot of respect for Bernadette, and I think it's important that we recognize that these kind of conversations, as much as I think we disagree on some pretty principal points here, can be amicable, and I think that's always really important to stress. And so, I just wanted to thank you for putting this on and so we can have this discussion. And as you said earlier, it's important, it's interesting that, we share a lot of the same views, which you wouldn't see, it's like a nuance within this side of the conversation, which I think is important, which I argue is the honest side of the conversation in regard to the reality of the risks of vaccines, but that's my opinion. But so high elevation view. So my opinion on this is, and this is where a lot of the back and forth kind of started, is that in the partisan field, it tends to be kind of these extremes like you were highlighting, is that for me, anyone that's been following his work before, but pretty much, Vax Forward, Wakefield, Big Tree, Brian Hook, the whole conversation around the MMR vaccine, He has been vocal, not advocating for it, for the other word. He's been fighting against that injection for a very long time. Very adamant about the risks of the links to autism, the ingredients that are dangerous. Generally highlighting it as something that's bad. And as recently said in the past, that he wouldn't give it to his children, except when he went in front of Congress. He said that he would promote it or would suggest it. And so to me right there, that's a deviation in regard to what he's been saying. So my stance is anything other than removing it from use based on what he's been doing, not even to get into what I think, I do agree with that, but based on what he's been doing is hypocrisy to me. Now, I'm not even getting into whether there's, what we would understand, if not agree with, political maneuvering, right? Like not saying the thing that's important to get this passed because maybe he'll do something good tomorrow. Like I understand, and if not, if it happens, maybe would even agree with it in the long term. My point is, because of the way things have been going, and I see a lot of manipulation happening, especially within this administration right now. It's not unique to partisanship, that we have to be erring aggressively on the side of integrity, principles, and outcome. Right? Not just the state, but not going, maybe, well, he'll get there later. And I get how the political field is dangerous and people might want to go after him. But even that is starting with the assumption that we know he's doing the right thing for the right reasons for us. I generally believe that in a lot of ways with his amazing background of work around health, but we just shouldn't be assuming. So today I'd like to make it about what we can prove, the facts, principles, and outcome. That's my perspective on it. And we can get into the title and the nuance around it. And I think a lot of internally within the partisan conversation, misrepresentations about key points of that article in effort to defend against people that are pointing out what I think is obvious hypocrisy, things like the vitamin A point or the subtitle. But I'll leave it there and we can go deeper.
Okay, Bernadette, take it away.
Wow. Yeah. And thank you so much, Ryan. On some of that, I do agree. But here's the thing. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is in a position nobody ever expected he would be in, to be Secretary of Health and Human Services. We all saw him battle and was under full attack during the confirmation hearings to get where he is. We have in this nation, in the world, 60 plus years of social engineering to make vaccines, and especially measles vaccine, which we can't get without the MMR, to be this massive controversial subject. He has been put in a position where he has this opportunity to globally impact health. Let's talk about measles specifically, by helping people understand the immune system, what you can do to prevent severe disease. That is in the article that was published. But he also is well aware that after 60 years of mass vaccination with the measles vaccine, we are in a very dangerous situation because pregnant women no longer give vigorous passive immunity to their babies. And if you're 20 years post your second MMR, there is, I think, a 20 to 30% chance you're fully susceptible to measles, or partially, like, it might protect you a little bit, but you're going to still catch and be able to transmit. And CDC's own studies show that a third dose of this vaccine will not extend your protection. So before the vaccine came out, we knew that if you were 15 years or older, you had lifetime immunity. Very vigorous immunity, and mothers had passive immunity to protect their infants to age 1, maybe 1.5 if they were nursing. So we are in the really dangerous spot here because of mass measles vaccination program. Infants are vulnerable, adults are vulnerable. What do you do? We also know that if he came out of the box and said, the measles vaccine is horrible, nobody get it, he would be yanked out of office, because there are several Republicans who only voted for him after he promised he was going to systematically, scientifically gather new data to be able to weigh in on the products. Now, that said, I think one of the most important things about this article to know is he did not write the title or the subtitle. He did not say, whatever that subtitle's not showing on my printout. He did not say that the MMR was crucial at all, anywhere in his article. So that was written by Fox, by whoever wrote the headlines. That was not from Bobby. And that really, people are only reading that sub headline. And really, there we go. It said it at the top. He says that nowhere in the article. So I understand he's in a difficult point. I really wish the world and the United States and all the Republicans and even the whole Trump team understood the dangers of the MMR. But even Dr. Andrew Wakefield, who has been on this his whole life and sacrificed his entire career, has said that you can't just yank a measles vaccine out of the equation at this point because of the disaster it will create. There has to be a transition moving forward to somehow undo this damage we've done. And I'll leave it at that.
So could I respond a couple things? I think just since it's important for some pretty foundational things here. Mm-hmm. I do think it's important, again, to reiterate that we shouldn't be discussing what we think he feels and thinks. I mean, yeah. I don't necessarily disagree with you, but I don't think we can prove we know those things. So to base it on what we think he's trying to accomplish, it ends up being hypothetical. So I think that's important. But in regard to this larger premise, and again, I do agree with the general idea that, this is a dangerous field. The people, we all know these are criminals, and just Congress in general, people he's fighting against, the unelected power structure even more so. But the idea that we're not going to be honest about this, or that's because they'll get removed from office, I mean, that's like a lesser of evils argument. And I don't necessarily disagree with the logic, but if we end up in that path, it's almost like an engineered way that we never actually get to the truth, or we rationalize why it never comes out, especially if we don't really know what they intend or think and feel. So we're just hoping they're doing the right thing for the right reasons. But I get it. It's a rock and a hard place. But I would like to say, too, the two main things here with the article is clear. He does very clearly suggest the MMR vaccine. So I don't agree with the premise that he's not putting that forward. Also, I don't see any evidence anywhere that we know he didn't write those titles. I think that's been stated by Truth About Cancer and a lot of other people that they know unequivocally he didn't write either. But I don't know that. I don't think that's true. Unless you have some evidence to suggest that he didn't write it. I've never seen that. And also, he put his name on the entire thing that makes the entire argument, and he hasn't spoken up since to argue he didn't back those things up. But
I will say too, Ryan and Bernadette, I'll pull it up, but I saw a tweet where he did use the term call to action. So I even if it wasn't in the article, I mean, yeah, I believe I'll find the tweet. So I can show my math on that one.
I'm not saying that he didn't say that measles outbreak is a call to action. I'm saying that he didn't say that the subtitle below that
is the call to action.
He did though. In the article, we can go through it. It's semantics based on the way it's worded, but he very clearly put forward the MMR vaccine. Let's go through the actual wording.
Yeah, let's go through it. But first, hang on. I want to just tell everybody, if you want to be on the editorial board and you get to ask questions and put in stuff for people like Ryan and Bernadette, it's a really great way to support my work. It's $5 a month, and you get to ask the question. So go join the editorial board. And Myron54 says, I am giving RFK Jr. the benefit of the doubt. He is under fire and has to be tactful political as he digs in. And I do think, like, from a lot of the stuff I've seen, some of this really is kind of it's a psychological thing. It's like, depending on the level of connection you think you have with the guy, or you want to give him a benefit of the doubt, or you don't. And we do this all the time with everybody. I mean, we do it with our kids and, our spouses or whatever. Like, okay, well, I want to, or I really want to see it this way, so I'm going to see it this way. So I think a lot of this is reflective of like tons of stuff that breaks in the news. And that is, like, depending on how we want to see it, we can kind of crunch numbers in a certain way. And so
for any government official, in my opinion, ever.
Yeah. And I think that's why I'm really glad to have both of you guys on, because I think it helps keep all of us honest. Go to AllisonWinePromo.com while Bernadette is thinking and get yourself an amazing bottle of wine. Actually, 6 bottles of wine every 3 months. You will get your delivery on time, and then you will have a gift for whatever birthday, holiday you're celebrating. These are wines that are hand selected for the kind of products that I like, which are very clean. None of the additives and flavoring dyes and stuff that they put in a lot of the grocery store wines. These grapes are grown in very remote regions of the world. We've got some Argentine wines that the grapes are grown between 6,000 and 9,000 feet. Vineyards that have been around more than 200 years, families that are still using the same winemaking techniques that their great-great-grandparents used. So go to AllisonWinePromo.com and sign up. If you're not a wine drinker, then you can just give them away as gifts. If you are a wine drinker, nothing pairs better with my show than a great glass of Allison Wine Promo. So thanks to everybody who is part of the club.